In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most popular FRS walkie-talkie radios on the market. And these are license-free and perfect for those of you who don't want to go through the hassle of taking any kind of tests or paying fees and just want to be able to operate the radio. And the good news is that there's still some great options available. And we'll be looking at a handful of the most popular that range from anywhere between $20 all the way up to $280 a pair. And we'll be testing out their range and clarity, comparing their size, build quality, batteries, and charging types, and discussing the pros and cons of each to help you make the best decision when you pick up your next set of walkie-talkies. I'm also giving away a pair of walkie-talkies in this video, and entering to win is really simple, and all you have to do is comment down below and let us know which walkie-talkie from the lineup is your favorite, and I'll be randomly selecting a winner with the Comment Picker app next Friday. I also created a little spreadsheet here which makes it a little easier for you to compare the specs and features of these radios, and that will be linked to you down in the description below in case you want to check that out, and also links which you can use to purchase these items and help support the channel at no additional cost to you. Before we dive in, be sure to smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. The walkie-talkies we're going to be looking at in this video are the Walkie Talkies, which did perform best overall, but it was a very close race. The Retevis RT45P, which was the best budget-friendly option and has the best IP rating. The Oxbow Renegade 2.0, which was another extremely well-performing radio that went neck and neck with the Walkie Talkie. The BTEC FRS A1, which is a really nice ultralight option. The Baofeng BF88ST, which is a very affordable option. The Moiko long-range walkie-talkies, which are currently the #1 bestsellers in portable FRS two-way radios on Amazon. The Cobra RX680, which were some of the best sounding and relatively affordable options. And finally, the Motorola T800, which offered some good flexibility when it comes to battery compatibility. The first and probably most important performance feature we're going to be testing is range. And all of these walkie-talkies have a 2-watt max output, with the exception of the Moiko, which has a 0.5 watt. And to test the range of these walkie-talkies, I turned them all on and put one of each of them right by a window and headed out in my vehicle and drove to a few different locations to see if they worked. And if you want to get the best range, you're going to want to set your radio somewhere between channels 1 through 7 or 15 through 22. This testing was done in a very densely populated place with tons of homes, buildings, electrical wires, and hills, which simulate very difficult conditions. And this will be a great test to see how well they can perform. And the first test was done at a distance of 1,100 feet, and they all passed. And the main obstacle between the walkie-talkies was a school. The next test was done at a little over 3,000 feet with about 5 blocks full of residential houses between us and no line of sight, and I was able to get great reception from all the radios. The next test was done a little further down the street at about 4,600 feet or about 0.87 miles, and at this point we were unable to hear the Moiko, so we cut it from the test. Next, I drove out to a distance of 1.6 miles, and we did go up about 50 feet in altitude, and there were well over a dozen blocks of houses between us, and the rest of the walkie-talkies were still working, but the signal of the BTEC and the Baofeng were starting to get a little bit weak and fuzzy sounding. I tested again at 1.88 miles, and at this point there was over a dozen blocks of homes and some office buildings between us, and the BTEC and the Baofeng both failed at this point, but the rest of the walkie-talkies were still going strong. For my final test, I went 2.7 miles away, and now there were multiple dozens of blocks of houses between us, and there was a huge hill and multiple smaller rolling hills filled with different houses between us, and the Motorola was unable to make contact, but the Walkie Talkie, the Retevis, the Cobra, and the Oxbow were all able to make good contact, and at this point the Walkie Talkie signal was the clearest. So I'm going to say that this one was the winner in the range test, followed closely behind by the Oxbow and the Retevis, and finally the Cobra. Next up, we're going to do a quick test of their clarity. So I set up all the radios in a circle around my mic, went to a different room in the house, and spoken to each one and recorded them so we can hear how they sound. And I've got these all lined up in order of the worst sounding all the way up to the best sounding, and we'll play those for you so you can hear for yourself how they sound. This is a test of the Retevis, test of the Moiko. This is a test of the Motorola. This is the test of the Baofeng. This is a test of the BTEC. This is a test of the Oxbow. This is the test of the Walkie Talkie. This is a test of the Cobra. Overall, I think the Retevis did have the worst quality audio, but it was still good enough for you to make out what somebody was saying. Most of the rest of the radios were pretty comparable, with the Oxbow, the Walkie Talkie, and the Cobra in the top 3, with a very slight advantage going to the Cobra in my opinion. If you're just going to be gently using these radios periodically in a caravan type scenario, or maybe you're planning on casually using them around your home or to talk with close by neighbors, build quality might not be that important to you. But if you're going to be engaging in outdoor activities, there's a decent chance it could get dropped or wet, and if you need to rely on them for communication, you want to make sure that your radio is up to the task. Right now, all these radios are lined up by IP ratings, and the Retevis did do the best in the group with an IP67 rating. And for those of you that might need a little refresher, IP or ingress protection ratings have two numbers, and the first number refers to how well it's protected from solid particles like sand, and the second number indicates moisture protection. And the IP67 rating means that it's dust tight and is protected against temporary water submersion of 1 meter for up to 30 minutes, which makes it the best in both categories. The Walkie Talkie and the Oxbow Renegade 2.0 come in close behind with an IP56 rating, which still offers fairly decent dust protection, and they are approved for use on boats and jet skiing, but you wouldn't want to get them submerged for too long. The BTEC FRS A1 and the Cobra are sitting at an IP54 rating, and they should be able to handle splashing water from any direction, and the Motorola T800 has an IPX4 rating and the same splash rating, but the X just means that it hasn't been rated for dust, so we don't really know how good it is. Unfortunately, there are no ratings given to the Moiko Walkie Talkies or the Baofeng, which is a little bit disappointing, and these definitely seem like the radios that you're going to need to be the most gentle with. Since all of these radios are designed to be carried, it's important to see how they stack up in size and weight so you can get a better sense of their overall portability. And now we've got all the walkie-talkies lined up by weight, including their batteries. There isn't a tremendous difference in the footprint and the weights of these devices, but a few grams here or there might make a difference for you. The BTEC is the most lightweight, coming in at 126 grams, followed closely behind by the Moiko. The Baofeng, Cobra, Oxbow, and Walkie Talkies are all relatively mid-sized, coming in between 150 to 188 grams, and the Motorola and Retevis are both the heavyweights in the group, coming in at around 210 grams, which is still not too bad overall. The last features we're going to be looking at are charging setups and batteries. The Walkie Talkies, the Renegade 2.0, the BTEC FRS A1, and the Retevis RT45P all have USB-C charging, which is probably the most convenient for the majority of you, and they come with rechargeable batteries, and I also included their capacities down below. This is the most modern and probably the most convenient cable for most people, and all of these have proprietary batteries with the exception of the Retevis Walkie Talkie, which can also run on 3 AA batteries, which is a really nice backup option to have, and this is my preferred configuration out of all the radios here. The Motorola T800 has a micro USB input, and it also comes with a rechargeable battery, and you also get the option of running AA's in this radio too. The Baofeng and the Cobra both have rechargeable batteries and run USB compatible charging cradle setups, which are the least convenient option in my opinion because they're pretty bulky, easy to lose, and they're not very convenient to take with you in the field, which definitely impacts their portability as well. And finally, the Moiko is the only radio here that just runs on standard AAA batteries, and it takes 4 of them, and this is also a relatively convenient setup. But the downside is that it's not rechargeable. I put all of the performance and specs data together and gave each radio a score out of 100 and plotted them on this chart so you can get a better idea of their true value and performance. I gave them a score out of 40 on their range, a clarity score out of 20 based on how good the audio sounded, a score out of 10 on their size and weight, and a score out of 20 on their build quality and IP rating, and a score out of 10 on their battery and charging setups, and totaled them all up and gave them a final score out of 100. And on the x-axis you'll see how they scored, and on the y-axis you'll see their price. The Walkie Talkies did score the best overall with a grand total of 83 points, and it did do the best in the range test, which really impressed me, and it did do very well in every other major category. The design aesthetics were really nice, and the carabiner clip is a very convenient portability enhancing feature. They are also highly rated on Walkie Talkies website, and I've seen a lot of positive feedback from other reviewers as well. So if you're looking for a great FRS radio, this is definitely one, if not the best out there. The only downside is that they are on the expensive side at about $110 a piece or $220 for a pair, which may be more than you're looking to spend on a pair of Walkie Talkies. And although the performance is great, you will have to decide whether or not it justifies the price. Coming in very, very close behind was the Oxbow Renegade 2.0 with 81 points, and it did pretty much stack up head to head with the Walkie Talkie in every category and was only a tiny bit less clear in the long range test, and there really is barely a difference in the performance or specs of these radios. The main con is that the Renegade 2.0s are the most expensive at about $140 each or $280 a pair, but again they are pretty nice radios and might be well worth it for you. Coming up next, we actually have a tie between the Retevis RT45P and the Cobra RX680. The Retevis is the more affordable option at about $55 a pair, which is a fantastic deal considering how well it handled the range test, and they also had the best IP rating, so if you need something affordable and durable, these are a really great option. The main downside is they are a bit heavier and bulkier than the rest, but overall they're still quite portable in the grand scheme of things, and this would definitely be the option I'd recommend to people who want a great performing affordable radio. The Cobra RX 680 will set you back around $100 a pair, but you might be able to find them a little cheaper, and these did have the best quality audio in my opinion, so if that's an important factor for you, these will definitely impress you. And it also did quite well in the range test too. The main downside for me is the charging cradle setup, which is a bit bulky, and I'm not really a huge fan of proprietary setups like this for charging, but this might not be an issue for you. There was another tie for 5th and 6th place between the Motorola T800 and the BTEC FRS A1, who both racked up a grand total of 64 points. The Motorola did do reasonably well in most categories, and a pair goes for about $88, and they are really nice looking walkie-talkies, and they've got a cool display, but I was a bit disappointed by the range, and I was hoping that it would be a little bit further. But one cool thing about the T800 is the Talkabout app, which connects to your phone and uses the T800 as a modem to send messages, locations, and more over the radio frequencies to your fellow T800 users, which is a pretty unique feature that I haven't seen on any other FRS radio. The BTEC FRS A1 is very compact, and if you're looking for something small, this is definitely the best option. The range and clarity were still pretty good, and USB-C charging is very convenient, and a pair of these is only $46, which is a great deal. And if you plan on doing a lot of hiking or carrying a radio with you, portability might be a very important factor, and if it is, these are definitely ones worth considering. The Baofeng BF88ST scored 55, and the performance was quite similar to the BTEC, and it is a slightly more affordable unit, coming in at $45 for a set of 3. And my main gripe with these radios over the BTEC would probably be my dislike of their charging cradles, but if this doesn't bother you, then these radios would definitely be a good way to go. And again, it's remarkable how affordable these are. Finally, the Moiko long-range walkie-talkies scored 46 points, and if you consider the pair of them only cost $20, I think they did pretty well. They were the weakest in the range category, but I was able to get reception in a very dense urban environment at about 3,000 feet. So if you don't need long range capability and just want a simple and affordable way to keep in touch, then these will definitely get the job done. Thanks so much for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you have any ideas for other gear comparisons like this one that you'd like to see, please let me know your ideas down in the comments below. And if you want to pick up any of these radios and help support the channel, you can find a link down in the description below.